Everyone, it's Miss Joyce. Today we'll be dividing decimals with regrouping. We're going to start with 2/10 divided by 5. Let's go ahead and make our partial quotient symbol. What we're going to do is place our dividend, which is this number we're starting with, 2/10, in the middle of our symbol. Our divisor is the second number in our division equation. That's going to go to the left, 5 ones. Now, what we're going to do is ask ourselves, what can we multiply by 5 to get as close to 2 without going over? Well, we know the first multiple of 5 is already too big. 5 times 1 is 5. So what we're going to do is rewrite 2/10 using a smaller place value. We're going to use the place value chart below to help us. Let's start by placing 2/10 into the place value chart. We can rewrite 2/10 as hundredths. Since there's nothing in the hundredths place, we can put a 0. So 2/10 is the same as 20 hundredths. That means we can cross off the 2/10 and rewrite it as 20 hundredths. Well, now we can figure out what we can multiply by 5 to get closest to 20 without going over. We know 5 times 4 is 20. So we're placing 4 on the outside. 5 times 4 is 20. So we're going to place 20 underneath. And remember, we're trying to get to hundredths. So we're going to put hundredths on the outside and down here in the center. So now we can subtract. 20 hundredths minus 20 hundredths is 0 hundredths. Now that we've gotten to 0, we can use everything to the right to find our final answer. So there's only one number listed here, 4 hundredths. So that's going to be our answer, 4 hundredths. If there was more than one number, we would add them together. Let's rewrite 4 hundredths in standard form. We can place the 4 in the hundredths place. There's nothing in the tenths or ones, so we can place a 0. So our answer is 0 and 4 hundredths. Let's try another one. Here we have 11 hundredths divided by 5 ones. Let's start by drawing our partial quotient symbol. On the inside, it's going to go our dividend, or the number we're starting with. We see 11 hundredths. We are dividing by our divisor, or the second number, which is 5 ones. So we're asking ourselves, what can we multiply by 5 to get closest to 11 without going over? And that would be 2. So we're going to place a 2 over here to the right. 5 times 2 is 10. Remember, we're trying to get to the hundredths, so we're going to place 2 hundredths on the outside, and 5 ones times 2 hundredths is 10 hundredths. Now we can subtract. 11 hundredths minus 10 hundredths is 1 hundredth left over. So now we're asking ourselves, what can we multiply by 5 to get closest to 100 without going over? Well, the first multiple of 5 is already too big. So we're going to rewrite 100 using a smaller place value. So let's place 100 in our place value chart below. We can rewrite this using thousands. Since there's nothing in the thousands place, we can put 0 thousandths. So 100th is the same as 10 thousandths. So now we can figure out what can we multiply by 5 to get closest to 10 without going over. That would be 2 thousandths. 5 ones times 2 thousandths is 10 thousandths. Now we can subtract. 10 thousandths minus 10 thousandths is 0 thousandths. Since we got to 0 here, we are done dividing, and we're going to go ahead and add everything to the right. 2 hundredths plus 2 thousandths is going to be 2 hundredths and 2 thousandths. We can rewrite this in standard form by placing a 2 in the thousandths place, a 2 in the hundredths place. There's nothing in the tenths or ones, so we can place a 0. So our answer is going to be 0 and 22 thousandths. Let's try one more problem. Here we have 17 divided by 4. Let's start by drawing our partial quotient symbol. We're going to place our dividend, which is the first number, in the inside. So we have 17 ones. Our divisor, or the second number, is going to the left, 4 ones. We're going to ask ourselves, what can we multiply by 4 to get closest to 17 without going over? Well, we know 4 times 4 is going to be 16. That gets us closest to 17 without going over. We want to be in the ones place, so we'll label each of these as ones. Now we can subtract. 17 ones minus 16 ones is 1 left over. Now we're asking ourselves, what can we multiply by 4 to get closest to 1 without going over? Well, we can't do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this using a smaller place value. Let's place the 1 in the ones place. We can rewrite this number using tenths. Well, we see there's nothing in the tenths place, so we can put a 0. 1 is the same as 10 tenths. So now what we can do is ask ourselves, what can we multiply by 4 to get closest to 10 without going over? We know 2 will get us closest. When we multiply 4 times 2, that's going to get us closest to 10 without going over. 4 times 2 is 8. Remember, we're in the tenths place now, so we're going to label each of these numbers as the place value is tenths. Let's go ahead and subtract. 10 tenths minus 8 tenths is 2 tenths. So now we're going to figure out what we can multiply by 4 to get closest to 2 without going over. There's nothing we can multiply without going over, so we're going to rewrite 2 tenths using a smaller place value. We'll place the 2 tenths in the place value chart and rewrite this number in hundredths. Since there's no hundredths, we can put a 0. So 2 tenths is the same as 20 hundredths. Now we can figure out 4 times what is going to get us closest to 20 without going over. Well, that would be 5. So 4 ones times 5 equals 20. And now we're in the hundredths place. So we're going to label each of these hundredths. So we just said that 4 ones times 5 hundredths equals 20 hundredths. Now let's subtract. 20 hundredths minus 20 hundredths is 0 hundredths. We've gotten to 0, so we're done dividing. We're going to add everything to the right. So we have 4 ones, 2 tenths, and 5 hundredths. Let's place these in the place value chart. The 4 is going to go in the ones place, the 2 in the tenths place, and the 5 in the hundredths place. So our answer is 4 and 25 hundredths.